In my opinion, fall might be the best season to go hiking in, and here in Washington State we have dozens and dozens of fantastic hikes to do in the fall time. The colors are gorgeous, the temperatures are more bearable than what you'd experience in the summer, and it's just a great way to get outside and potentially see some breathtaking views. In this video, we're doing a couple iconic Washington hikes that are notoriously beautiful during autumn. Hope you enjoy. We're starting things off at the legendary Enchantments zone, which is just outside of Leavenworth, Washington. It's an extremely popular area for day hiking and backpacking, but due to the popularity, in order to backpack in the core part of the Enchantments, you have to enter a lottery system at the beginning of the season and hopefully get selected to get a permit in order to spend the night in the actual Enchantments area. I've applied for this permit the past few years. I've never gotten it, and my girlfriend applied for her first time this year and got a permit for 8 people during debatably the best time of the year to go backpacking in the Enchantments. So that is classic Bray luck for you. Now, the reason why this was such a great time window to go to the Enchantments is because every October here in Washington, the larch trees display this beautiful array of golden orange color, and it's heaven for photographers or just people that admire the outdoors. And surprisingly, I've never actually done a dedicated larch tree hike before, so I was hoping that we'd luck out and the larch trees would start to turn slightly early this year, because I think most of the time they start to turn into that golden orange color mid-October, and we were going just about a week before their prime color window. I knew we weren't going to get the best colors, but I was at least hoping for a few larch trees while we were up there, and luckily there were some. Now, Alicia's permit enabled us to camp at Kolchak Lake, which is an absolutely breathtaking day hike. I highly recommend doing it just as a standalone hike if you ever have time. But that permit is a great one to get, because by camping at Kolchak Lake, that enables you to do the day hike up to Kolchak Lake, set up camp there, spend the night, and then get an early start in the morning from Kolchak Lake to hike the rest of the way up to the core part of the Enchantments. Now, I've done the Enchantments through hike before back in August of 2022. I didn't get permits that year, so my cousin, friend, and I decided to do it as a day hike. Started super early, hiked all the way up to Kolchak Lake, all the way up Asgard Pass in one go, and I remember it being pretty tiresome. I lugged my 16mm camera up on that hike. If you haven't checked out the video that I made about that, you can do so up here. But this time around, I wanted to bring my regular video camera and my Mamiya 7 II to capture some medium format stills of the Enchantments, hopefully get a couple of larch tree shots, as I mentioned. So we got up to Kolchak Lake the first day, set up camp. It was absolutely beautiful out. Checked the weather report for our time window. It was looking great, looking like it was going to be sunny, mild winds, 9 to 12 miles an hour, nothing crazy, no rain. We were stoked because everything was lining up for this to just to be an epic 2-day backpacking trip, 2-night backpacking trip up to the Enchantments. So we just hung out that first night, cooked up dinner, woke up the next morning, and began to tackle Asgard Pass. The slow and steady slog up Asgard Pass just never gets old. It's just brutal. It is not that fun. And yeah, it's definitely that one section of the hike that everybody's like, we really got to do that, huh? Very windy, very steep, very tiresome, but we are slowly and surely making it up this thing. A bit more than halfway up Asgard Pass, and yeah, not any easier the second time doing it. We eventually made it up Asgard Pass, And once you get to the top of Asgard Pass, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. You're mostly just flat hiking for a while through the core of the Enchantments, which, I mean, it's just one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my entire life. The variety of terrain you get is unbelievable. These giant granite slabs just line the walls of this place. There's Alpine Lake after Alpine Lake, and they have varying colors. Some are this real rich turquoise color. Some are more blue. Some are a little bit green. You just get so much variety in such a small area. All right, we're trekking through the core of the Enchantments now. Got some of the larches starting to turn. So we're getting a bit of that fall color. But regardless, this is one of the most beautiful places in the whole state. The landscape up here is incredibly unique. Big granite slabs everywhere, and the watercolor is just insane. Compared to the 35mm photos that I shot up there in the summer of 2022, definitely seeing a bit of a difference. You know, the weather was slightly different. We did have a little bit of cloud coverage come in on both trips. But yeah, the Mamiya 7 too is such a fun camera to shoot landscapes with. The detail you get and the lenses that are available for that camera are just so well suited for landscapes. So we just spent a few hours hiking through the core part of the Enchantments, saw a few of the Alpine lakes, and then it was time to start heading back down Asgard Pass because we didn't want to hike down that thing in the dark. So we start hiking down. We noticed the wind is picking up a little bit, which was unexpected just because on the forecast it said, about 10-mile-an-hour winds. But the wind was really starting to pick up. I mean, at certain points, I was feeling at least 50-mile-an-hour gusts, which was a little bit concerning. But we were all good. We were hiking down Asgard Pass, and, I started looking over at where our campsite is because I can see it on the shoreline of Kolchak Lake, way, way off in the distance. Intrusive thought started creeping in the back of my head, what if that tent of ours just, that wind could pick that tent up and just take it for a spin. Oh, I staked it down good. I even put a rock pile on one of the stakes, really made sure it was staked down good. I staked down Alicia's dad's tent real good. Like, no, we should be fine. And I eventually get to the point where I'm looking at this orange object that is away from the rest of the campsite. It looks to be blown into a small cove area of the lake. It looks to be in the water. And I'm, thinking, well, my tent's rainfly is bright orange, but there's just no way. I staked it down so well. Alicia's full pack was sitting in there. Our sleeping bags were sitting in there. We had weight in the tent. There's no way that wind would have picked that tent up and blew it away. Yeah, it's depressing. I don't even know how the hell we're getting this shit down either. Yeah, we're not leaving it here. The reality of the situation was that the wind did pick up our tent and blow it into the lake. So for however many hours, our tent with our sleeping bags and sleeping pads and Alicia's full backpack was just soaking in Kolchak Lake. And I know people are going to comment, well, you got to make sure you really stake your tent down good. I had it staked down so damn good. I piled a whole thing of pretty decent-sized rocks on one of the stakes as well, just to give it a little bit of extra protection. And I also staked down Alicia's dad's tent as well, and that one was fine. So we got unlucky. The wind took Alicia and I's tent into the lake. Our sleeping bags were soaked. Our sleeping pads were soaked. The tent was ruined. And now we are faced with a dilemma. It's late. There's random clouds rolling in that weren't supposed to roll in. Rain's rolling in. The temperatures are dropping. I've never had the weather change on me like this up in the mountains yet. Of course, at some point it was bound to happen because that's just the way the mountains and being outside works. But got a complete change in weather based on what the forecast was saying, and it got cold, it got wet, it got cloudy, and it was getting dark. It was about 6 p.m. at this point. So I had to make the quick executive decision to pack up all of our shit and hike out that night in the dark, which was miserable because we had to lug all of the wet gear, the soaking wet sleeping bags, out of Kolchak Lake and down the trail with us. But that's all part of the game, baby. Stuff like that is going to happen, and you just got to adapt, react quickly, and make the best decision that you can, which in that case was to hike out that evening and get back to the car and get home because there was just no way Alicia and I were going to make it up there without any sleeping bags or way to stay warm. So that happened, and what are you going to do about it? That was the Enchantments adventure, and so naturally, once that was over, I felt a need to get a little bit of redemption. So about a week later, I recruited Alicia to come with me to Lake Ingalls, which I just did about a month prior to this trip. And this is the 4th time that I've done Lake Ingalls, but it's just such a beautiful hike. It's also so diverse in what you're able to see. The terrain is unlike anything I've seen elsewhere in Washington. It reminds me a lot of what you'd see in like Colorado or Utah with these red rocks that kind of line the valley. And it's also a great area to see the larch trees when they're at their peak. So I was hoping that we could, 1, get just a successful hike in this time around, and then 2, see those larch trees at their peak color. And we got to the trailhead. Beautiful day, sunny. The air is brisk. I love that brisk fall air when it's just a little bit too cold outside, but you start hiking, you get warm, and then you feel comfortable. Man, it's peak hiking for me right there. So we start hiking up the trail. We pass a few people along the way. A couple of people just looked at me and said they're at their peak. Pretty much everybody came to the conclusion, everybody that I passed on the hike came to the conclusion that, yeah, this was like the best day to see the larches. So that was wonderful. We hike up and over Ingalls Pass, which is a really, really nice hike because it's just a steady incline the whole way up. We get up and over Ingalls Pass. Alicia gets to see that view for the first time. I mean, it's one of the best views on any hike I've ever done. Mount Stewart, off to the right, along with the rest of the Stewart Range there, and then those beautiful big kind of golden rocks that line that valley. And then at this time of the year, the larches were in abundance. And it's cool because not every tree in the valley is turning into this golden color. It's just these specific large trees that are turning. So you get little patches of this golden color that line the valley, and it really makes for an interesting landscape. Another roll of Velvia 100. My supply of this stuff is slowly dwindling. These rolls expired, I want to say in like 2012, maybe 2009, somewhere in there. But with slide film, they actually say that you don't need to overexpose for every decade like you do on color negative film. So still rating this stuff at 100, and the guy that gave me these rolls had them in like deep freeze storage, so every time I've shot them they've been perfect exposed at 100 speed.
I thought I had it figured out. I thought I had my ducks in a row. Then when I was driving over.
So again, on this hike I brought my Mamiya 7.2 with the 43 and 65 mil lenses. When I do day hikes I bring both my lenses because I'm not carrying a bunch of extra weight with camping stuff, so I can afford to bring a couple of lenses with me, which is always fun. And I brought 2 rolls of Velvia 100 because I really wanted to shoot some large trees on slide film. Mostly because I just wanted to look at them on the light table. I thought that would be a really cool experience, and boy, oh boy, was I right. But I had a mini heart attack after I shot my first roll of Velvia up there, because when I took it out, the roll had spooled super loose.
It's like really hard to wind this roll for some reason.
So I figured it would be littered with light leaks, that I'd pretty much be screwed. So I actually loaded up a roll of gold 200. We hiked through the basin area, and it was cool being with Alicia for this hike because she's never done it before. She was shooting on her Contax T2 as well, shooting some 35mm film. So we shot around the basin area, hiked up to Lake Ingalls, enjoyed the view for a bit.
At the speed of a light. At the speed of a light.
I tried to fish that damn lake again and got skunked. That's that's the second time I've gotten skunked at that lake. My buddy Cooper and I fished that lake for about 3 hours the last time I was up there, and we watched them jump out of the lake one right after the other, 2 hours straight. And again, I brought the fly rod up on this trip, brought the regular rod as well. Alicia and I switched off. Neither of us got anything, and that was a bit of a bummer. My luck with fishing in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness,
Come on.
not so good.
I legit like threw my arm out.
We left Lake Ingalls and continued back down the trail, where I loaded up the second roll of Velvia 100. And as I was shooting that roll, it felt more normal to me. Didn't have any issue winding it or anything like that. Finished the roll off, took it out, and that roll had rolled super loose as well. So I figured I just ruined 2 rolls of Velvia 100. Really bummed out about it. Now I'm like, okay, I only have that 1 roll of gold 200 to work with. Hopefully there's some decent shots on there, which there were. But then to my surprise, when I got the scans back from the lab, there were barely any light leaks on the slide film. No idea how that happened. Whenever I have color negative film roll that loose, I mean, it's just blasted with light leaks, especially the last few frames. This stuff, there were a few light leaks on the last couple of frames, but they were very, very minuscule. Getting those scans back was, I felt a big sigh of relief, and I'm pretty pumped with the photos. I mean, looking at them on the light table, oh, it's so cool seeing that slide film and seeing those golden colors portrayed so beautifully on that piece of film. So came away with some solid images from the Larch Tree hike to Lake Ingalls. Came away with some solid images on our disastrous hike to the Enchantments. That's fall hiking for you in Washington State. You're never quite sure what you're going to end up getting. But came away with some solid stuff. Had a great time on both hikes. Getting outside and breathing the fresh air. Seeing the beautiful terrain that we have here in the state. I'm never going to complain about it. With that being said, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this fall hiking video. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Squarespace is much more than just a website building platform. You can use it to build a business, sell products, manage inventory, or host an online portfolio. One of my favorite aspects about Squarespace is that because of its extremely intuitive interface and wide selection of creative templates, you can have a professional website up and running in virtually no time, with zero coding required. There's also a new design intelligence feature that helps you get started with the creation of a new website, even if you're not super design savvy. Just punch in some basic info, select what features you'd like on your site, a color palette, and Squarespace will build a quick website that you can further customize to fit your needs. Maybe you're a photographer looking to get new inquiries and increase bookings. Clients can schedule a session directly on your site. Maybe you have a blog and want to offer additional content to community members. Squarespace offers memberships for those creating exclusive content. There's so many features that make Squarespace the one-stop shop for those looking to create or expand their business. If you'd like to receive 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, head over to squarespace.com/Bray or use code BRAY at checkout to do so.